Good afternoon, and thank you for coming. I'm Eric Schneiderman, the New York State Attorney General, and today I am proud to join our partners in an unprecedented state and federal partnership in announcing a landmark settlement with JPMorgan Chase for misconduct that contributed to the global financial crisis that brought our economy to its knees. The $13 billion agreement announced today holds Chase accountable for fraud in both its own residential mortgage-backed securities business and in dealings with two other financial institutions that it acquired, Bear Stearns and Washington Mutual. Not only will Chase have to pay the largest settlement ever levied against a financial institution, but it is admitted in our statement of facts that its own employees of Bear Stearns and employees of Washington Mutual, made material misrepresentations to the investing public about a large number of residential mortgage-backed securities that they issued prior to the crash in 2008. This settlement is a major victory in the fight to hold accountable those who were responsible for that crash, and it would not have happened without the residential mortgage-backed securities working group that President Obama set up last year. I am co-chair of that working group along with my colleagues in the Department of Justice and the SEC, and I'm very proud of the work we've done that has led to this settlement. With me today are Michael Stevens, the Acting Inspector General of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, one of our best partners in the working group, Christy Peel, Executive Director of the Center for New York City Neighborhoods, and Jennifer Ching, the Director of Queens Legal Services. I'm also joined by two of my colleagues who have worked very long and hard on this deal, Virginia Chavez-Romano and Chad Johnson. Now, Christy leads one of the more than 90 organizations of legal services and housing counselors that we are supporting around the state to help New Yorkers victimized by unscrupulous mortgage lenders. They and their colleagues across the state, including Jennifer and her great team of lawyers, have helped tens of thousands of New York homeowners already to fend off foreclosure, and I want to thank them for the tremendous work. I'm going to talk a little bit about how the settlement we're announcing today came to be and what it means for the state of New York, and then I'll be happy to take some questions. Last year, JPMorgan Chase and four other major banks signed onto a $25 billion national mortgage servicing settlement, which covered abuses in post-crash mortgage servicing, things like robo-signing and foreclosures on folks when there wasn't clear title. New York got a good piece of that, and we dedicated $60 million to funding these programs, to creating our Homeowner Protection Program, or HOP. More than 90 organizations received funding as a result of the fact that we invested up front and ensured that New Yorkers had a housing counselor or a lawyer to help them navigate in trying to seek the relief the banks were offering. We got much more out of the first settlement than was ever anticipated. It was projected by HUD that we'd get something on the order of $600 million of relief for New York homeowners. We've already gotten more than $2 billion. And at the time that settlement was signed, I said that we were going to pursue the victims of relief for the victims of the far more egregious conduct that actually caused the crash in the first place. When the president created the Residential Mortgage-Backed Securities Group, I said that we had the resources, we had the jurisdiction, and we had the will to get more accountability, to get bigger settlements from financial institutions. Today is the first of what we anticipate will be quite a few settlements with other banks. It is the largest settlement ever. It holds the bank accountable, and in the statement of facts, they've acknowledged deceptive practices. And when I took office in 2011, as some of you will recall, there was a deal on the table that, in my view, was wholly inadequate. That what became the mortgage servicing settlement was actually a deal drafted so that it would essentially relieve the banks of all liability for their pre-crash misconduct in the pooling, marketing, and sale of mortgage-backed securities, which is what blew up the American economy in the first place. I refused to sign on to that deal. The White House came along, the releases were narrowed, and the Residential Mortgage-Backed Securities Working Group was set up. And I recall the conversation November 4th, 2011, when HUD Secretary Sean Donovan called me and said, okay, we're good to go with a joint investigation. That's when this all started. We have been investigating misconduct in the sale of mortgage-backed securities with Chase and with other financial institutions. And I have to say that Chase has shown leadership here. JPMorgan Chase has shown leadership by being the first bank to acknowledge the wrongdoing and to enter into a settlement of this kind so that it can essentially put government prosecutions behind it, although this does not release any individuals or companies from criminal liability so that the criminal investigations that are taking place in U.S. attorneys' offices can continue. But what this settlement does provide is $9 billion in cash, far more than has ever been paid in any settlement, and provide $4 billion in relief to consumers, including mortgage modifications for homeowners at risk of foreclosure. New York State will receive more than $1 billion, $613 million in cash, and what we project will be more than $400 million in consumer relief for struggling New Yorkers, providing some measure of justice for the people who have been suffering as a result of the crash. What the settlement does not do, again, ladies and gentlemen, is to give JPMorgan Chase or any individual actors immunity from any future criminal proceedings. It does settle civil actions, including one by my office, but the federal investigations for criminal conduct will go forward. But I have to say the settlement is a major step in restoring confidence that in our financial markets, no matter how big you are, you will be held accountable if you break the rules. It's an important message to send to all investors. And again, I do believe that this shows leadership and vision on behalf of Chase, because there is what I've called for the last 2 years the peace premium. There's a peace premium for a bank to be able to say, we have put this behind us. There's a peace premium being able to say, we've taken responsibility for misconduct in the past and we're moving on. And I think other banks will follow. I'm confident other banks will follow, and that we will be here in the months ahead to announce other major settlements. Now, we could never have achieved this without the tremendous work of our partners in the working group, including Michael's agency, the FHFA, Office of Inspector General, the Department of Housing and Urban Development. I have to particularly acknowledge a great New Yorker, Sean Donovan, who's been in leadership on this, the Securities and Exchange Commission, of course, the Department of Justice, and U.S. attorneys' offices from all over the country. We know the causes of the financial meltdown, ladies and gentlemen, and the practices that victimize so many Americans. It has been written about, it has been documented, of the artificial inflation of the housing market that led to the bubble, that led to the crash. And I want to acknowledge that this is the first major step we've taken towards serious accountability by those who created the bubble and created the crash. And I would like to turn the microphone now over to Michael Stevens of the FHFA Inspector General.